Donald Trump's former advisor, Kash Patel, who many believe would be the next CIA director if Donald Trump were to ever disgrace the White House, once again just gave an interview with Steve Bannon, who was pardoned for the felonies he committed and who was convicted of contempt of Congress. And in this interview, Kash Patel says that if he were to become the CIA director, he would use the government to attack and destroy media that was not flattering to Donald Trump and MAGA. I'm going to play this interview, then let's talk about it. Play the clip.
Highly confident that when you go back and is a senior member of this administration, President Trump's administration, starting in the afternoon of the 20th of January of 2025, do you feel confident that you will be able to deliver the goods, that we can have serious prosecutions and accountability? And I want the Morning Joe producers that watch us and all the producers that watch us, this is just not rhetoric. We're absolutely dead serious. We're not. You cannot have a constitutional republic and allow what these deep staters have done to the country. The deep state, the administrative state, the fourth branch of government never mentioned in the Constitution, is going to be taken apart brick by brick. And the people that did these evil deeds will be held accountable and prosecuted, criminal prosecutions. Kash, I know you're probably going to be head of the CIA. But do you believe that you can deliver the goods on this in a pretty short order of the first couple of months so we can get rolling on prosecutions?
Yes, we got the bench for it, Bannon, and you know those guys. I'm not going to go out there and say their names right now so the radical left-wing media can terrorize them. But, excuse me, the one thing we learned in the Trump administration the first go-around is we got to put in all-America patriots top to bottom. And we got them for law enforcement. We got them for intel collection. We got them for offensive operations. We got them for DOD, CIA, everywhere. And the one thing we will do that they never will do is we will follow the facts and the law and go to courts of law and correct these justices and lawyers who have been prosecuting these cases based on politics and actually issuing them as lawfare. We will go out and find the conspirators, not just in government, but in the media. Yes, we're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens, who helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections. We're going to come after you. Whether it's criminally or civilly, we'll figure that out. But yeah, we're putting you all on notice. And Steve, this is why they hate us. This is why we're tyrannical. This is why we're dictators.
Folks, in that interview right there, Kash Patel is saying it outright, okay? There is no hiding what he's saying. This is fascism right before our very eyes, and that is the individual who Donald Trump would almost certainly pick as the CIA director. The plans that Donald Trump has, the plans that these right-wing MAGA fascists have, is to utterly obliterate democracy. Anybody who's not part of the MAGA movement, we've heard Donald Trump already saying it, he considers to be vermin, and he's talking about eliminating the vermin. I don't know how much clearer the warning can be. This is not some hypothetical. It is right before our eyes. And here's what Donald Trump posted on his social media platform in the past few weeks. MSNBC, MSDNC, uses free government-approved airways, and yet it is nothing but a 24-hour hit job on Donald J. Trump and the Republican Party for purposes of election interference. Brian Roberts, its chairman and CEO, is a slimeball who has been able to get away with these constant attacks for years. It is the world's biggest political contribution to the radical left Democrats who, by the way, are destroying our country. Our so-called government, he puts that in quotes, should come down hard on them and make them pay for their illegal political activity. Much more to come. Watch. Using the government to make a media network pay for political activity, using the government to destroy media and framing it this way. And as you hear Kash Patel saying he's going to be targeting the media. By the way, here's what Donald Trump posted as well on his social media platform over the past 24 hours. You don't get much more deranged than this. Here, play this clip.
Bogus criminal cases trying to put their leading political rival, me, in prison. Let's put him in prison. He's leading by a lot. There's no way we can beat him. Let's put him in prison. They're running police state operations to infiltrate the Catholic Church as if it were a communist country. They're persecuting Christians and pro-life activists. They're persecuting anybody they want to persecute. They've labeled ordinary Republicans and parents at school board meetings as potential domestic terrorists. They're resettling millions of migrants into our communities, destroying our country like it's never been destroyed before. They're calling our citizens criminals. They rigged the last election. They rigged the Democrat primary, and they're trying to get their rivals thrown off the ballot everywhere they can. And they're constantly trying to delegitimize the Supreme Court of the United States and threatening conservative judges with violence. In short, nothing about crooked Joe Biden and the anti-democratic party has anything to do with defending democracy. So if crooked Joe wants to turn this election into a question of which candidate will defend our democracy and freedom, then I say, bring it on.
It is a list of deranged grievances and fascist projections. You have Donald Trump saying, they're trying to put me in prison. Well, you committed multiple crimes before our very eyes. In multiple jurisdictions, you are being prosecuted for your crimes because law and order matters. At the same time, you're praising the January 6th insurrectionists and you're making songs with them and calling them the J6th choir. It is despicable. Trump says in that video that they are trying to infiltrate the Catholic Church like a communist country. What are you even talking about? And by the way, have you ever stepped foot in a Catholic church before? Because you know who does each and every week? President Biden does. And while you're out there at Mar-a-Lago having the most depraved and criminal lifestyles that have existed in the history of mankind, you have President Biden out there who's quietly someone who is living with a high degree of integrity. He's not pushing his religion in other people's faces. He's just a person of faith who goes about his life in a way that we can all admire. Next up, he goes, they're persecuting Christians and pro-life activists. What in the world are you talking about? The Supreme Court has created a situation where they have taken away women's reproductive rights. They've taken away the freedom of women. They've taken away the freedom, and you want to take away the freedom of people to love each other. You mock, you bully, you punch down on marginalized communities. Donald Trump goes, they labeled ordinary parents at school board meetings domestic terrorists. Nobody at all has done that. If indeed somebody engages in conduct consistent with domestic terrorism, like threatening to blow up something or threatening to bring weapons and cause serious bodily harm to people, if people engage in terroristic activities like we saw leading up to and on January 6th, and we've seen with a lot of these right-wing extremist groups, if they engage in terroristic activity, that's terroristic activity. And if we care about law and order, we call that out. He goes, they're resettling millions of migrants into the country. And again, it's they. Look, there is a comprehensive immigration law package that is and that has been circulating Congress for some time, that Democrats actually want to come to solutions here. But no, MAGA Republicans would rather utilize any crisis on the border as political points versus solve the problem, because y'all can't even fund the government. Y'all are releasing tapes of January 6th insurrectionists and blurring the face, as MAGA Mike Johnson said, to protect and defend the insurrectionist. Next, what Donald Trump says is they call our citizens criminals. I don't know who you're referring to. If there are criminals, they are criminals. Like the January 6th insurrectionists, those are criminals. He goes, they rigged the last election. No, they didn't. You tried to overthrow the results of the 2020 election. And back in 2016, and even as we see in Special Counsel Jack Smith's most recent filing, your whole life is about saying, oh, it's rigged, this is rigged, that's rigged. You have spent your entire life lying about everything, bankrupting everything you touch, destroying everything in your path. Next up, he goes, they want to delegitimize the Supreme Court and conservative judges. There is a right-wing extremist Supreme Court. that's running the show right now. There are 6 right-wing Supreme Court justices who are overturning not just precedent, but precedent on top of precedent, overturning super precedent like Roe v. Wade, like the separation of church and state, traditional views about responsible gun ownership, the roles of agencies in the government, so forth and so on. This right-wing extremist court, voting rights, has gutted it and created this dystopian of American carnage that you spoke about in the disgraceful inauguration back in 2016. And then Donald Trump says at the end, in typical fascistic projection, that he's the one who's fighting for democracy while he tries to overthrow our democracy. And so as you watch this video of Kash Patel threaten the media, as you watch Donald Trump engage in that fascistic projection, I want to say this as well as my message to the legacy media. I saw that organization called Snopes try to fact check a report that we did where we were describing how Donald Trump was clearly demonstrating cognitive decline when Donald Trump was saying that he's trying to destroy democracy and he wants to destroy democracy. And Snopes was making excuses for Donald Trump and saying, no, Donald Trump was saying destroying in democracy, not on democracy. And it's like, Donald Trump didn't really mean that. Why are y'all out there, rather than fact checking everything like I just did, pretty easily to fact check what Donald Trump said, you're fact checking people who are appropriately criticizing Donald Trump, and y'all think your job is to help Donald Trump like he's some little baby? Like you're trying to give him context and help him out? What in the world are you doing, legacy media? It is utterly shameful, because what we just saw on this video, from Kash Patel to Trump right there to the Post, is fascism. Pure, unadulterated fascism, and we're calling it out here on the MeidasTouch Network. I'm Ben Meiselas. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 2 million subscribers thanks to your support. Have a great one.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.